Hello everyone, welcome back. Today in this session, I'm going to explain you about TCP/IP model. So let's start with what do you mean by a TCP/IP model? Why do we require this TCP/IP model? And which are the different layers are there in TCP/IP model? So let's quickly start with today's session. So TCP/IP protocol suite. So firstly, we'll concentrate with the term called as a protocol suite. So what do you mean by this protocol suite? So actually the word protocol suite domain. So a protocol suite is nothing but a collection of protocols that are designed to work together. So it's a collection of protocols which are designed to work together. So a collection of protocol which are designed to work together is known as a protocol suite. So a protocol suite is nothing but a collection of protocols that are designed to work together. So let's start with a TCP/IP protocol suite. What do you mean by a protocol suite? Why do we need it? So this TCP/IP. So when I talked about an TCP/IP protocol suite, we have an internet protocol or internet protocol suite, which is the conceptual model, and a set of communication protocol which are used in the internet and similar computer softwares. So this internet protocol suite is commonly known as a TCP/IP. So the entire IP suite is a set of rules and procedures which is commonly referred as a TCP/IP protocol. So it's an entire IP or it's an entire internet protocol which has a set of rules and procedures which is commonly refers to as a TCP/IP, where TCP stands for transmission control protocol, whereas IP stands for internet protocol. These TCP as well as a IP are the current foundation protocols. So these two are the current foundation protocols of internet. So these are the current foundation protocols of an internet. So TCP/IP is a hierarchical protocol which is made up of interactive modules, each of which provide a specific functionality. So when I say about an hierarchical protocol or when I say about an hierarchy, so here hierarchical means that every upper layer protocol is supported by two or more lower layer protocols. So in case of a hierarchy, it means that the upper layer is supported by two or more lower layers. So the upper layer protocols is supported by lower level protocols is called as lower level protocols is called as in hierarchical manner. So the protocols at the high level or the upper level is supported by the protocols of lower levels is called as in hierarchical fashion of protocol. So TCP/IP is an hierarchical protocol which makes up of interactive modules where each modules will provide a specific functionality. So this TCP/IP is used as a communication protocol which is used to interconnect the network. So in order to interconnect the networks, this TCP/IP is used as a communication protocol. In order to interconnect the network, this TCP/IP is used as a communication protocol. So by giving an interconnection to the network on various devices on the internet, we use this TCP/IP protocol. So particularly in case of a TCP/IP protocol, the communication protocol can be a private one. So in case of a TCP/IP, the communication can be taken place or TCP/IP can be used as a communication protocol in a private computer network. So this communication protocol in a TCP/IP is used in a private computer network. So in either this private computer network is either an intranet or it's an extranet. Either it's an internet or an extranet. So this TCP/IP protocol can be used as a communication protocol in a private computer networks, which is either it's an intranet or it's an extranet. The original TCP/IP protocols was defined as a 4 software layers built upon the hardware. Since in the past, when the TCP/IP protocol suite was designed, initially we have a 4 software layers, but nowadays we have a TCP/IP 5-layer model. So currently we have 5-layer model, but initially when it was developed, it was a 4-layer software model. So coming to the architecture of a TCP/IP protocol. So TCP/IP is a layered server architecture system in which each layer is defined in order to perform a specific task. So in order to perform a specific task, in order to perform specific functions or a specific task, we need this layered architecture. So TCP/IP is a layered server architecture system in which each layer is defined according to, or each layer is defined in order to perform a specific function. So as I said, today currently we have a 5 different layers in case of a TCP/IP. So these are the 5 different layers of TCP/IP protocol. All these 5 different layers work collaboratively in order to transform the data from one layer to another layer. So here we have a 5 different layers that are physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport, as well as an application layer. So these are the 5 different layers of TCP/IP protocol. So this is a layered server architecture. So these are different layers in TCP/IP protocol. So they are arranged according to the different layers. So in the layer 1, we have a physical layer. Layer 2 is a data link. Layer 3 with network, and transport is for layer 4. And at layer 5th, we have an application layer. So this is the layered architecture or an architecture of TCP/IP model. So let's see how the communication takes place in a TCP/IP protocol. So this is how the communication will taken up in an internet when we are assuming that it's a TCP/IP or it's a transmission protocol, or it's a transmission control protocol, or in an internet protocol. So this is how the communication is taken up. So we have here, as of this representation or as of this pictorial representation, we have 5 different communicating devices. One is a source, and this is the communicating devices. This is a first communicating device called source, and the second one is a switch, and a router, which is a third communicating device. Again, we have one more switch, which is act as a 4th communicating device. At last, we have a destination. So these are the 5 different communicating devices in which the communication is taken up. So one is a source host, or it is also called as a computer A host or a computer A. And the second one is, this is a link layer switch. So this is a link layer switch, and we have a router. Here we have a link layer switch again. Next we have a destination. So these are the 5 different communicating devices when we are talking about a communication with respect to TCP/IP model. So let's assume the communication takes place between a source as well as a destination. So eventually, when we are talking about a communication, it can be taken up between a source and destination. So whenever we are talking about a communication, it eventually takes place between two particular devices. One is a source and another one is a destination. So here also, with respect to the TCP/IP model, we have the communication takes place between two different devices. One is a source and another one is a destination, or that communication takes place between a computer A as well as a computer B. So this is the source as well as a destination node. So each source host as well as a destination host will have a set of layers. So here the source have a set of layers, that the source have a 5 different layers of TCP model. That's an application layer, transport layer, network, data link, as well as a physical layer. So here the source will have a set of 5 different layers of TCP model, as well as here the destination will also have a set of 5 different layers of TCP/IP protocols. So here the two different hosts are involved in the communications with these 5 different layers. This source host, has the name itself suggests, this source host is acting as a sending agent, right? So source is always for sending. So this source will create a message. So this source is create a message in the application layer. So this is create a message in the application layer and send it down to all the other layers, so that it is physically sent to the destination host. So once the source will create a message, it eventually pass to all the different layers of the source. Then it will pass to then this message will pass to the destination node. So then once the message is created, this message is eventually sent down to all the layers of TCP/IP, so that it is physically sent to the destination node. So the message which is sent by the sender is physically sent to the destination node. So the message which is sent by the sender is eventually reaches to the destination host or destination nodes. So this destination node is needs, in order to receive, this destination node is there to receive the message or receive the communication path, receive the message at the physical layer. So receive the message at physical layer. So for whatever the message which is sent by the sender at the destination node, it eventually receives at the physical layer. So here whatever the message is sent by the sender, it is eventually received at the destination node of a physical layer. So the message is received by the destination node at its physical level, then it will deliver it to all the other levels. So the physical layer will deliver the message to all the remaining levels of destination host. So this is about the source and destination. So next we have a router here. So next we have a router. So as we know that this router is used for routing purpose. So this router is used for routing. So this router is used for routing purpose. So as we see here in this diagrammatic representation, this router is involved with 3 different layers. One is a network layer, data link layer, as well as a physical layer. So there is no transport layer or there is no application layer in a router. So a router will have a network layer, data link layer, and a physical layer within the absence of transport and application layer. Since it is used only for the routing purpose, it always involved with one network layer and n different combinations of data link as well as a physical layer. So even the router will involve only one network layer and a combinations of data link and a physical layers. So whenever we are talking about a router in a communications with respect to a TCP/IP, it never gone with transport layer and application layer. The router will eventually takes one network layer and a combinations of data link and a physical layer, in which n is the number of links or number of links in the router which is connected to it. So, and the reason why this may link it's the physical as well as a data link layer is it uses n different combinations of a router to which it is connected. So the router may always use this data link and physical layer by its whole. So let's take an example. The router is involved with three different links. Here the router, the communication, when the communication is taken between A and B, this router is involved with three different links, with a link 1, link 2 and a link 3. So the router here involved with three different links. But the message sent from the host or to the destination, the message sent from the host to the destination involved only one link, or it involves only two links. So here this will involve this one link, and two links are needed in order to transfer a particular message from source to destination. So each link may be using different link layer and different protocols of physical layers. So this router needs to receive a packet from link 1 based on one pair of protocols and delivers it to the link 2 based on the another pair of protocols. So this router needs to receive a packet from link 1 and then it eventually sends to the link 2, or it eventually loads or delivers to the link 2 based on a other pair of protocols. So the next component of a communication channel is a switch. So here we have a two different switch. A link layer switch is a link or a link switch or link layer switch in a link is involved only in a two different layer. Here the switch will involve with two different layer. One is a data link, another one is a physical layer. So this switch will involve with two different layers. So here we have a two different switch, and each switch we have a two different connections. So each switch will has its two different connections. So connections are same. So the connections are in the same link, which uses only one set of protocols. So unlike a router, a layer switch is involved with one data link layer and a one physical layer. Here the switch is involved with one data link layer and one physical layer. So there are two different switches which are involved with one different link and one physical links with respect to their logical connections or with respect to the set of protocols needed. So this is how the communication is taken place in case of a TCP/IP protocol. So next we have a logical connection. So why we need this logical connections is in order to understand the functionalities or in order to understand the duties of different layers of TCP/IP, we need to know the logical connections. So why we need logical connections is in order to understand about the functions and duties of TCP/IP, we need this logical connections. So in order to understand this the functions and duties of TCP/IP protocol, we need to understand with or we need to know the logical connections of TCP/IP protocol. So let's see about the logical connection. So here this diagram depicts the logical connections between different layers of TCP/IP protocol. Here we have a source and destination. Here we have a 5 different communicating devices as I explained. So in the bottom 3, so with respect to these 3 units, with respect to the network, data link as well as a physical unit, the data unit or the packet should not be changed, or over these 3, the packets or the data unit should not be changed by any router or any other links. But in the bottom 2 layers, so with respect to these 3, Yeah, with respect to the top three layers, these are the top three layers. So with respect to these three, the data unit or the packets will not be changed, should not be changed by any router or anything, because here the router is not connected to the application layer and the transport layer. So in case of a network, we need only one network layer. So eventually when I'm talking about a logical connections, we need different layers. So this network layer will also not be changed by any router or any link layer with respect to the switch. Because switch is not connected with a network layer, or switch is not connected with the transport layer, or the switch will not connected with the application layer. Switch will have a connection, or the switch is involved with data link and physical layer. Since the switch is not involved with the network, transport and the application layer, the top three layers of TCP/IP protocol, the data units of top three layers should not change. So with this, the packets or the data units, this packets or data unit should not changed, should not changed. When I'm talking about the bottom two layers, here I have a bottom two layers as data link as well as a physical layer. So the packet which is created by the host, so host is responsible to create the packets, right? So the packets which is created by the host is changed when this router, this package will change only by the router, not by the link layer switch. So here the packet is changed by the router. So packets are changed by routers, not by switches. So here, when I talking about the top three layers, when I talking about the top three layers, that is an application layer, transport and the network layer, the packets or the data unit should not be changed by any of the routers or by any of the switches. But with respect to the top bottom down, with respect to this bottom down two different layers, that is a data link as well as a physical layer, the packets are changed by the routers, not by the different link layer switches. So the packets are changed only by the router in case of a bottom down layers or bottom two layers. So this is the logical connections of TCP/IP protocol. So the duty of the top three, that is an application layer, transport layer and the network layer, the duties of these three are end to end. So the duties of application layer, transport layer and the network layer is end to end. So next, the duty of the bottom hop, the duty of the bottom down is hop to hop. So it is an hop to off connection. So the domain duty of top three layer is the internet. So internet is the domain duty of top three layers, that is an application, transport and network. So whereas the domain duty of the lower link is, lower layer is link. So for these two, link is a domain layer. For these three, internet is the domain layer. Here the communication is end to end and here it is hop to hop. So this is about the logical connections between TCP/IP protocol suite. So this figure illustrates how the identical objects in each layers related to each devices, how the identical objects with respect to TCP/IP or how the identical objects in the TCP/IP protocol shows related to each devices, that is router or switch or something else. So since we get to know that the logical connections at the network or at the network layer is between two different hosts or two different switches, then the identical objects exist between two different hosts. So the identical objects will also exist between two different hosts. Here we have a router. Here we have a router. So by using this router, we may fragment the packet. So this by using this router, a router may fragment the packets at network layer. So it will fragment the packet at network layer and it will send more packet than received. First fragment the packet, then it send more packets and then send more packet than it received. So it sends the more packet than it actually accommodated when it will talking about a router. So firstly the router will fragments the packet with respect to a network layer, then it will eventually sends more packet than it is accepted. So this is the identical objects with respect to TCP/IP. With respect to an application, the identical object is a message, whereas with respect to a transport, it's a user datagram or a segments. So with respect to the network objects, it's a datagrams, and the frames with respect to data link layer, and bits in case of a physical layer. So these are the identical objects which are used with respect to each and every layer. So message with respect to an application layer, and segments or datagrams with respect to transport, datagrams with respect to a network layer, frames with respect to data link, and the bits with respect to physical layer. So this is the identical object in case of a TCP/IP protocol suite. So let's move on and discuss with the description of each and every layers of TCP/IP protocol. Firstly, we'll start with very first layer, that is an physical layer. So this layer is the lowest layer and the layer 1 of TCP/IP protocol. This is the lowest layer as well as the layer 1. So it is responsible for transfer of bits from one computer to another computer, or here the transmission of bit. So it's an actual binary data. It's actual binary data. Actually, binary data is transmitted from source to destination. So actual binary data is transmitted from source to another destination. So since the physical layer is responsible for transfer of bits from one computer to another computer, so it eventually transfers the binary data from source to destination node. So it eventually transfers the bits from source to destination. So physical layer is concerned with the transmission and receptions of data stream from upper layer over any type of physical media. So in order to transfer the bit of data with respect to the lower levels from the upper layers, it will use some type of transmission media or for example, it might be use a cable, wireless media or a wired media. So it will use different types of transmission media in order to transfer a bit from a upper layer to lower layer. So this physical layer places the bit stream on the network media. So it also specifies the physical characteristics of network media. By using this physical media, we'll also get to know whether the transmission is full duplex or half duplex. So when I say it's a half duplex, so from the last class itself, half duplex is nothing but once we have a sender and a receiver, at a time both cannot be sent. Once the sender will send the messages, then the receiver will send the messages. So with respect to a fully duplex, both the sender and the receiver will send and receives the messages at the same time. So this is the full duplex and a half duplex. We have learnt about the full duplex and half duplex in the previous sessions. So this physical layer is responsible for converting the Ethernet frame from the data link layer into a stream of bits which is suitable for a transmission media. So it eventually responsible for carrying the individual bits. So it is eventually responsible for carrying the individual bits. So it is eventually responsible for carrying individual bits in a frame. So it is eventually responsible for carrying the individual bits in a frame. So physical layer, as the physical layer is responsible for carrying the Ethernet frame from the digital data link layer into a stream of bits which is suitable for transmission media, it eventually responsible for carrying the individual bits in a frame. So it manages and synchronizes the signals from actual transmission, while on the destination device, the physical layer resembles these signals into frames and transfers into upper layer. So it is responsible for encoding the data for transmissions to the destination computer, and it is also responsible for encoding the transmission rate. So this is the physical layer working. This is the representation of physical layer. So the physical layer is the lowest level, as we know that the physical layer is the level 1 or the lowest level of TCP/IP protocol. Here, the communication between two devices, here the communication is taken between a source as well as the receiver, or the sender and the receiver. The communication is taken between the two devices, and it's a logic, and it will have a logical connections, and it will use a network media. They use this as a transmission media, that is either it's a twisted pair cable. They use as a communication channel as a twisted pair cable. So this is an hidden layer. So this transmission layer is an hidden layer in the physical layer. So this layer is hidden in case of a physical layer. This is an hidden layer with respect to a physical layer. So we need to know the transmission medium. So we need to know the transmission media doesn't carry any bits. So it doesn't carry any bits here. It carries either the electrical signal or the optical signal. So when I'm talking about a physical layer, it doesn't carry any bits. Eventually it carries signals. Eventually it carries signals. Either it might be an electrical signals or it might be an optical signal. So when I'm talking about a physical layer, it eventually carry the signal. So the bits received in a frame from the data link layers are transferred and sent through the transmission media. So the logical unit between the two physical layers in two devices is a bit. So it eventually sends the data link layer from the upper layer. So the bits received in a frame from the data link layer are transformed and sent through the transmission media. So this is about the physical layer or the layer 1 of TCP/IP protocol. Next, we have a data link layer. So this is the second layer of TCP/IP protocol. So data link layer will provide a protocol, is responsible for taking the datagram and moving it across the link. So this link, so this link can be a wired LAN or wireless LAN. So this link can be a wired LAN. This link can be a wired LAN, or it might be a wired WAN, or it might be a wireless LAN or wireless WAN. So this link may be a wired LAN or a wired WAN, or it might be a wireless LAN or wireless WAN. So it is responsible for taking a datagram and moving across the link, while this link is either a wired LAN, wireless LAN, wired WAN, or a wireless WAN. So it is responsible for moving the packets through this link. By using this link, it will eventually move the packets from one layer to another layer. It supports all the standards and proprietary protocols. So different protocols can be used with any types. So in each case, the data link layer is responsible for moving the packets through the link. So data link layer will have a different set of protocols. So it supports all the standards and proprietary protocol in order to move a particular package from a link. So this data link layer takes a datagram and encapsulate it in a packet called frame. So any protocol that can takes the datagram and carry it through the link with suffixes for the network layer. So the data link layer here takes a datagram and encapsulate it in a packet called a frame. So each link layer protocol may provide a different services. Some link layer protocol provide complete error detection and correction. So they provide a different services. So here some link layer protocol will provide us services like error detections and error correction. So some might be a provider, some only provide a error correction. So some protocol will provide both error detection as well as a error correction, but some protocol will provide only an error correction. But each and every link layer will provide some specific services. Data link layer will support all the different standards and proprietary protocols, since it contains or it defines any specific since the TCP/IP doesn't define any specific protocol. So TCP/IP, TCP/IP doesn't define any specific protocol. Since TCP/IP doesn't define any specific protocol, this data link layer will support all the different standards and proprietary protocols. So this data link layer will inserts the header and tailors to its upper layer data. So as I said, by using the TCP/IP, we're going to create a frame, right? So by using this TCP/IP, we're going to create this frame, right? So we'll create a frame by using the data link layer. So by using a datagram, we eventually create a frame. So the data link layer inserts a header and tailor. So it eventually inserts the header as well as the tailor. So it eventually inserts the header as well as a tailor to a frame of a data link layer. So frames are sent over the network as a bit stream at the physical layer to the destination computer. So the frames are sent over to the destination node by using the physical connection. So the data link header will contains the information of source MAC address and destination MAC address, whereas this tailor will contain checksum values for error detection. So checksum values is used for error detection. So this header will contains the address of both source and destination node, so that by knowing the sender's address, by knowing the source and destination address, it is easy to traverse the frames from source to destination easily. So at this trailer end, we'll have a checksum value in order to check with any error. If there is any error, this checksum value will indicate and it eventually detects the particular error. So this is the data link layer. Next, we have a network layer. So this network layer is responsible for delivering of internet protocol datagrams over the networks. So it is responsible for creating a connections between a source and destination. So by using this network layer, we can easily create a connections between a source and destination. So it is responsible for host to host communication and routing the packets through the possible routes. And this network layer will create some host to host communication, and whichever the packets they needs to send. So for all those packets, they'll create a particular route. So based on that route, they eventually sends all the packets easily. So it supports different set of protocols like internet working protocol, which is nothing but IP, ARP, RARP, ICMP, and IGMP. So let's see what all these terminologies or what are these common terms will known about, or which are the different networking protocols are there with respect to a network layer. So first starts with an inter-networking protocol. So this is a transmission mechanism which is used by TCP/IP protocol. It's an unreliable and connection-less protocol with a best effort delivery service. This IP protocol is a connectionless, so it's a wireless protocol with a best effort delivery services. It will also provide no error checking or tracking. This IP, by using this IP, it will never allow any error checking methods or any tracking methodologies. it assumes, IP assumes that unreliability of underlying layers and does its best to get a transmission through it to its destination with no guarantees. It always thought that whenever we need to get a transmission to its destination from the source, it will need an underlying layers. So it will lead a lower level layers, but with no specific guarantees. So it assumes the unreliability of lower layers. So it transposes the data in a packet. So here the packet is called as a datagram. So where in case of a data link layer, we call the packets as a frames, where here we call the packets as datagram. So each of which is transport separately. So each of the packet is transport separately with respect to their convenience. So IP doesn't keep track of the routes and has no facility for reordering the datagram once they arrive at their destination. So it, as I said, that networking protocol will have a route. So based on that route, it will eventually create a host to host communication. So when I'm talking about this inter-networking protocol, it doesn't have any sense to keep track of the particular route. And it also no facility for reordering the datagrams or reordering the packets once they arrive at their destination. So it will not multi-order purpose. It's a single order. So when it's ordered at one time, once it is arrived, it's enough. It cannot reorder the datagrams again. So it provides a bare-bone transmission function. So what is the bare-bone in a sense? Bare-bone is nothing but it provides a basic functionalities. So bare-bone is nothing but a basic. So it eventually provides a basic transmission function. So by using the IP, we will get to know about the different basic transmission functions of network layer. So let's see with the next set of protocols. Next we have an ARP. So ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. So address resolution protocol is used to associate a logical address with a physical address. In order to associate or in order to get a connections between a logical address and a physical address, we need this address resolution protocol. So on a typical physical network such as LAN, which is nothing but a local area network, each device on a link is identified by a physical or a station address, usually imported on NIC card. So by using this identifying address, by using this identification, it will going to find the physical address node. So by using this ARP, we need to find, or it helps to find the physical address of the node when its internet address is known. So by using the internet address, we'll get to know the physical address of a particular node. So next we have one more protocol called Reverse Address Resolution Protocol, which is called as a RARP. So this RARP will allow a host to discover its internet address when it's known only its physical address. So when the network will know only the physical address, this RARP protocol will allow a certain host in order to guess or in order to discover its internet address. So this RARP is used when a computer is connected to the internet for the first time, or when a diskless connector is booted, or it is called as when the system is using for n numbers of time. When the computer is connected to the network for n times, then it is not a convenient way to use a RARP. So RARP is used when a computer is connected to a network for a very first time, or a diskless computer is booted. So whenever diskless computer is getting booted, or whenever it is getting restarted, at that particular time, we eventually use this RARP protocol in order to know the internet address. When we didn't know the address of an particular internet, then at particular time, when the system is booted, when the system is shut down, or when the system is start up again, so at the particular time, we'll use this RARP. So next we have an ICMP, which is nothing but Internet Control Message Protocol. So this is a mechanism which is used by a host as well as the gateways in order to send the notification of datagram problems to the sender. So whatever the problems which are arise while sending a particular packet, if there is any issues arises, this ICMP will send a message or will send a notification signals to the sender about a datagram problem. So the problems will arise about that particular problem. It eventually sends the messages or it eventually sends a notification. So it sends a query and error reporting messages. ICMP is used in order to get a notification about a problems while sending packets. So next we have a IGMP, which is nothing but Internet Group Message Protocol. So this IGMP is used to facilitate the simultaneous transmission of message to a group of recipients. So it is like one sender will sending a message to n different numbers of people. So it is like facilitating the simultaneous transmission of one messages with respect to a group of recipients. So sending a message, sending a signals from one senders to n different numbers of senders. So this by using this IGMP, we eventually helps to facilitate the transmission of messages from one sender to different destination, from one source to multiple destination. So next we have transport layer. So this transport layer processes the data which is received from the above layers. So which is received from the application layer, it eventually processes the data and creates a data segment. So here we call the packets as data segments. Here we call the packets as data segments. So it transfers the data by establishing the connections with the layers with the lower level layers. So it eventually creates or it eventually establishes connections with the lower level layers. So in order to transfer the data from the sender to the receiver, it eventually establishes connections with the lower level layers. So this transport layer is responsible for end-to-end connections or end-to-end transmission without any errors, and by controlling the flow data rate or flow rate of data. So there are two different protocols which are responsible. One is a TCP UDP and TCP, or the transport layer protocol, which are responsible for delivering of messages from one process to another process. We have one more protocol called SCTP. This is the newest protocol which is used to convey or which is used to devise or which is used to provide the needs of new application. So in order to provide a certain needs of a new application, we use this SCTP protocol. So let's see what do you mean by an UDP, what is TCP and what is SCTP. So TCP is a transmission control protocol. So it provides a full transport layer service to the application. It creates a virtual circuits between a sender and receiver, and it is active for the duration of transmission. So once the transmission process is begun, until and unless the transmission is over, the system, the entire virtual circuits remains active. So it creates a virtual circuits between a sender and receiver, which remains active until and unless the transmission process will complete. So it's a reliable protocol as it detects the errors and retransmits the damaged frame. So once the frames are transmitted, if the frames are damaged, then this TCP will eventually send back the damaged frames. Therefore, it ensures all the segments must be received and acknowledged before the transmission is considered to be completed. So before we are going to consider the transmission is completed, we need to check whether the received frames or the received packets will be in a correct order, will be in an acknowledged format. And if there is any problems, this virtual circuit is discarded. If there is any issues arises, then the system will discard it. So at the sending end, the TCP divides the whole message into smaller units known as segments. So in case of a TCP, we call the packets as a segments. So at the sending end, this TCP divides the whole message into smaller units known as a segment, and each segment will contain a sequence number, and this sequence number is required in order to arrange the frames in an order. So in order to arrange the frames in an order, we need the sequence numbers of a segment. So by using this, we can form a original message. So we can create a original message. So at the receiving end, it collects all the segments and order them again based on the sequence number. So at the sender end also, it eventually sends or it eventually segment the contents based on the sequence number, and at the receiving end also it will collect the segment based on the sequence number. Next we have a UDP, which is nothing but a user datagram protocol. So this user datagram protocol will provide a connectionless services. It's not a correct connection oriented, it's a connectionless services, and it also provides an end-to-end delivery of transmission. It's an unreliable protocol as it discovers the errors but not the specific error. So it eventually doesn't specify which type of error it is, but it discovers the errors. It eventually discovers the error, but it doesn't specify how the errors will looks like and what is the error is about. So it consists of different fields like source port address, destination port address, total length of a frame, total length of a segment, as well as a checksum. So it doesn't specify which packet is lost. So it doesn't specify about a packet loss. It doesn't determine about a packet loss. So it contains only checksum. It doesn't contain any ID of a data segment. It contains only a checksum value or a checksum address. It doesn't contain any identification or ID of a data segments. So this is how the variables and header format of user datagram protocol will looks like. Here we have a checksum of 16-bit as well as a length of a UDP or length of a segment in case of network layer, transport layer is 16 bits. And we have a source address and destination address. Here we have a header frame and the data. Next we have SCTP, which is nothing but stream control transmission protocol. So it provides support for newer applications such as voice over the internet. In order to convey the voice messages, we'll go with this stream control transmission protocol. So in order to convey the voice messages, we use this stream control transmission protocol. It's a transport layer protocol which combines the features of UDP as well as a TCP. So this SCTP will eventually combines the features, or it eventually combines the functionalities of UDP and TCP. So next we have application layer. So application layer is the topmost layer and it's the last layer in case of a TCP/IP model. It is responsible for handling high-level protocols and issues of any representation. It will allow user to interact with application. So it allows the user to directly interact with the specific application. So when one application layer protocol wants to communicate with another application layer, it forwarded it to the transport layer. So it forwarded its data. It's forwarded the data about a particular protocol to the transport layer. So every application cannot placed inside the application layer except those who interact with the communication system, which means that application layer can place the layers only which we can interact with the communication system. Only the system which is interact with the communication protocol will be allowed inside the communication protocols. Let's see the different protocols of a application layer. Firstly, we have a HTTP. So as we know that HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It allows to access the data over the www, that is World Wide Web. So it transfers the data in the form of plain text, that is like English statements, or about an audio messages or a video messages. Next, we have an SNMP, where it stands for Simple Network Management Protocol. As the name itself suggests, network management, it is used to manage the network, or it used to manage the devices on the internet. So this is a framework which is used to manage the devices on the internet. Next, we have SMTP, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. As the name itself suggests, mail transfer. So it is responsible for transferring of a mails. So it supports the mail. So it is known as a Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So this protocol is used to send the messages, sends the emails from one to another. So next protocol is DNS, which is known as a domain name system. So by using this domain, it eventually identifies the IP address to which the host is interrupt uniquely. So in order to identify the any IP address which is required to get a connections of a particular host, we need this domain name systems. So this system maps the name of an address, which is known as a domain name system. So it maps the name of our address called domain name systems. Next is Telnet, which is a terminal network which establishes the connections between a local computer and remote computer in such a way that the local terminals appears to be a terminals at a remote system. So whatever the terminal is there for a local, it will treat it as a terminal for a remote system also. Next, we have an FTP, which is nothing but a file transfer protocol. So it's a standard internet protocol, which is used for transmitting the files from one computer to another computer. So in order to transfer the file, we need this file transfer protocol. So these are the five different services of 5 different layers. So the very first with the application layer, and the service of application layer is process to it will have a process to process communication. With respect to transport layer, we'll have a logical communication and segment level error detections or error connection methodology. And it's a guaranteed deliveries of frames or packets or data segments, guaranteed delivery of segments. In case of a network, it's a host to host communication. Fragments are transmitted, so it's a data fragmentation. So best delivery effort is used to deliver the fragments. In case of a data link, it's a node to node communication, and it identifies the bit level error detections, and it will eventually correct the error at the bit level. It also acts as a best delivery efforts. At the physical layer, the bit level data delivery. The services of a physical is bit level data delivery. So this is the overall view of 5-layer services of TCP/IP model. So next we have a concept called encapsulation and decapsulation. So it is one of the most important concept in protocol layering. So here we have a figure. So this figure will eventually explain you about a encapsulation and decapsulation process. Here in this picture, in the source host, the encapsulation process is taken up. Here in this case, it will taken up with an encapsulation process, whereas with the destination, it taken up with decapsulation process. So the encapsulation is taken up at source head and the decapsulation is taken up at destination head. So in order to perform this action, so in case of a router, here router will eventually takes both encapsulation and decapsulation. So in case of a router, it will takes both encapsulation and decapsulation. So it eventually says the encapsulation process is taken at the sender host and the decapsulation process will taken at a destination host. Both the sender and both the encapsulation and the decapsulation process will taken up at a router. So this is the encapsulation process of TCP/IP protocol. So where the encapsulation is taken up at source host and the decapsulation is taken up at receiver host. So let's see what is an encapsulation. Okay. So encapsulation at source head. So we have an application layer. So we have 5 different layers. So let's see what actually taken up in case of an application layer. So with respect to application layer, the encapsulation process is used in order to exchange the data. So here the data exchange is called as a message. So in order to exchange the messages, we use this encapsulation at the application layer, at an application level. So it doesn't contain any header or tailor, and the message is passed to the transport layer directly. So this message doesn't contain any header or tailor, unlike the frames, since the frame will contain a header and tailor. So this message doesn't contain any header and tailor. It eventually passed to the transport layer. So next, encapsulation at a transport layer, it takes as all the messages as a payload. Here the message is referred to as a payload. Here the entire message is treated as a payload. So this transport layer will take all the payloads. It adds the transport layer header to the payload, which contains the identifiers of the source and destination program, plus some more information which is needed for end-to-end delivery of messages. So this payload will contain the header information, so which contains the source address as well as the destination address, along with some more additional information which are needed in order to deliver a particular protocol, so a particular payload. So the result of this transport layer packet is called as a segment or a user datagram. So we will go with the two different terminology. One is a payload and another one is a user datagrams, and another one is a segment. So these are the three different terminologies which we are going to use in case of encapsulation with respect to a transport layer. So this transport layer will take a payload first, then it eventually has the header information. So the result of information will contain some segments and user datagram. So it then passes the packets to the network layer. So it will passes the packets to the lower layer. So at network layer, it takes the packets from the transport layer as a data or a payload and adds its own header to the payload. Initially, it accepts the packets from the, it eventually accepts the payload from the transport layer, and it has its own header. It has its network layer header to the particular payload. The header contains the address of source and destination host and some more information which are used for error checking of the header, and some fragmentation information and source address. So the result of network layer packet is called as a datagram. Here we call this as a datagram. So the network layer then passes the packets to the data link layer. So then this datagram will passes to the data link layer. That is the lower layer of network layer. So at the data link layer, it takes the packets or data or a payload, and it has its own ID, own header, which contains the link addresses. That's the physical layer addresses of the host or the next router address. So the result is the link layer packet, which is called as a frame. So as we know that the data in data link layer, we have a frame. So it eventually creates a frame, and then it will pass us to the lower layer. That is, it passes to the physical layer. The frames are passes to the physical layer. So the frame is passed to the physical layer for transmission. So let's see about a decapsulation encapsulation at a router. So first, after the set of bits are delivered to the data link layer, it decapsulates the datagram from frames and passes it to the network layer. So this network layer will check the source and destination address in the header and consults its forwarding table in order to find the next hop to which the datagram is to be delivered. So based on the content of datagram, it shouldn't change anything by the network layer in the router, since they need only the fragmenting of a datagram. So the datagram is then passed to the data link layer of the next link. Then it encapsulates the datagram in the frame and passes it to the physical layer for transmission. So what actually happens at destination host is each layer only decapsulates the packets which are received, and it removes the payload addresses, and it delivers the payload to the next higher layer protocol until the message reaches the application layer. So at a destination host, it eventually decapsulates the packets by removing the payload address, and it delivers those payload to the next higher levels. So decapsulation, it involves error checking method. So in order to check the errors, so that's about a encapsulation and decapsulation with respect to a TCP/IP protocol. So next we have about an addressing in TCP/IP protocols. So this is another important concept which is related to protocol layering. So as we discussed, we have a logical connections between a pair of layers in the TCP/IP protocol. So we know that if any communication is taken place, we need a two different channels. So we need two different devices, that is a sender as well as a receiver. So in order to take the communication between these two in any networks, we need two different addresses. One is a sender address sender address and another one is a receiver address. So any communication that involves two different parties in order to address a particular network. So they are the source address and the destination address. So we have a 5 different layers in TCP/IP. So we need 5 different pairs of addressing. So one pair for each layer. So since we have a 5 different layers, we need 5 pairs of addressing. We need 5 pairs of addressing. So we need 5 pairs. Why? Because we have a frames, we have a data segments, we have a fragments, we have a payload. So in order to address all these things, we have a different pairs for each and every layers, right? So we need 5 different pairs. So constantly we need 4 pairs. Why? Because in order to transfer or in order to change the bits in case of a physical layer, we doesn't need any addressing mode. So we need only a 4 pairs of addressing. So let's see about an addressing in TCP/IP protocol. So this is an addressing of TCP/IP protocol. So since the protocol, the physical layer doesn't need any addressing mode, since it eventually takes only the bits, since this physical layer will eventually takes only the bits unit, so it doesn't need any data, any addressing. So the physical layer doesn't need any addresses. The unit, since the unit of data exchanged at this physical layer is a bit, so it is the unit of data which is exchanged. So there is no need of any address. It directly changed. So this figure shows the addressing in TCP/IP protocol. So there is a relationship between the packet name, layers, as well as a address. So there is a relationship between the layers and the address used in that layer and the packet name. So the address, packet names, and the layers. So here we have a 4 different addresses. One is a link layer address, logical address, port address, and the name. So this is also called as a specific address. So this is also called as a specific address. The names are also called as a specific address. So the names is also called as a specific address. So let's see with each and every types of addresses in detail. So this is the relationship of layers. So there's a relationship between the addresses, layers, and their frames, or there is a relationship between the layers, packet names, and the addresses. So let's discuss with each and every addresses. Firstly, we'll have a physical address. So with respect, it's also known as a linked address, is the address of a node as it is defined by the LAN or WAN. Size and format of these data are vary depending on the particular networks. For example, it's an Ethernet which uses a 6-byte physical address. So this physical address can either be a unicast, multicast, or broadcast. So it's a MAN, it's a local area network LAN, or it's a WAN. So next we have a logical address. This logical address is used for packets. So as it is used with a logical address, it is used by the networking software in order to allow the packets to be independent of physical connections of network to work with different network topology. In order to work with different network topology and different types of media, we need this logical address. So it is a 32-bit address that can uniquely define a host which is connected to the internet. So it's a decimal number. So an IP internet address in IPv4 is decimal. So here it looks like 132.24.75.9. So the major rule and the important point is no two publicly addressed and no two hosts have a common IP address. Only a single IP address is there for single host. So each and every IP will have their unique address. So by this point, what we get to know is every IP is unique. So IP is unique. So each and every host will have a unique IP address. So from this, we get to know that the IP is a unique one. So the physical address will change from hop to hop. but the logical addresses remains the same. So the logical address cannot be changed. So once the logical address is fixed, it remains same for all the different networks. So this logical address can be either unicast, multicast, or broadcast. So it either be a multicast, or it might be a unicast, or it might be a broadcast. So next, port address. So there are many applications which are running on our computers. So each of the application run with a particular port number. So if we know the port number, we can easily access that particular application. So it's a port number is a part of addressing information which is used to identify the sender and receivers of the messages. So by using this port number, we can easily identify the sender and the receivers of a particular message. So port numbers which are commonly used in TCP/IP connection. These port numbers allow different applications on the same computer to share network resources. So this port address will also remains the same. Unlike a logical address, the port address also cannot be changed. It is a fixed one. So example of a port is for a 16-bit we represented as 753. So next we have a application specific address. So based on an application, we will specify an address. So some applications have user-friendly address that are designed for a specific address. So some applications will have addresses, will have a user-friendly addresses. So such addresses is always called as the application specific addresses. For example, it includes an email address. So each and every email is unique, right? So email address is a major example of application specific address. And another one is a URL. So URL of any web browsers or URL of any web is an example of application specific applications address. So the first defines the recipient of an email. Second is used to find a document on World Wide. So email address is used to find a recipient of an email, whereas the URL is used to find a document on a World Wide Web. So by using this URL, the universal resource locator, we are going to find a document on a World Wide Web, or we are going to browse a document. We are going to get a document easily on a browser. So next, about a multiplexing and demultiplexing. So the TCP/IP will also support multiplexing and demultiplexing. So TCP/IP protocols uses several protocols at some layers. So that is multiplexing at the source and demultiplexing at the destination. So at the source end it is multiplexing, and at the destination it is demultiplexing. So let's see what do you mean by multiplexing and what is demultiplexing. So multiplexing is nothing but it's a protocol at any layers of a TCP/IP, which can encapsulate a packet from several next tier protocol one at a time. So one packet at a time can encapsulate. So multiplexing means a protocol can encapsulate a packet from several next higher protocol one at a time. So encapsulating a packet is nothing but a multiplexing, whereas a decapsulate is nothing but a demultiplexing. So encapsulates is nothing but a multiplexing, whereas decapsulates is nothing but a demultiplexing. So demultiplexing means a protocol that decapsulates and delivers a package to several next higher protocol one at a time. So in multiplexing is nothing but an encapsulation, whereas demultiplexing is nothing but a decapsulation. So this is how the multiplexing and demultiplexing. So here the multiplexing at source node. So here at the source node, the multiplexing is, so we are accepting the frames. So we are accepting the frames in case of a multiplex in order to multiplex. So here with respect to a demultiplexing, we are delivering the frames or we are delivering the data. So this is about a multiplexing. So in case of a multiplex, in case of a demultiplex, we are going to decapsulate the data, whereas in case of a multiplexing, we are going to encapsulate the packets or encapsulates the data. So this is the representations of different protocols which are taken up multiplexing and demultiplexing. So to be able to multiplex and demultiplex, in order to get a multiplex or in order to achieve multiplex and demultiplex, a protocol needs to have a field in its header to identify the protocol which is encapsulates the packet belongs. So we need a field address. So we need a field address in case of any protocol. So this, by using this field in its header, we need to identify a particular packet. So at the transport layer, both either this UDP or TCP can accept a message from several application layer protocol. Whereas at network layer, internet protocols can segment from TCP or a user datagram from UDP. It can also accept a packet from other protocols like ICMP, IGMP, Internet Control or Internet Grouping Protocol. So it can accept the messages or it can accept a packet from different set of protocols. So at the data link layer, a frame may carry a payload which are coming from an internet protocol or any other set of protocols like ARP. So this is about a multiplexing as well as a demultiplexing at TCP/IP protocol suite. So that's all about a TCP/IP protocol suite. Thank you all for your kind attention.